All right, we're going on YouTube Live right now. Okay, Brother Leroy, so you can start. So he's
Do we have Greg?
say that again.
Greg is not here yet,
No one's
but
here
that's
yet.
all right. We going. I'll talk it.
Okay.
And this is the Wisdom Table coming to you from the Grand Houses in Harlem, USA. The program that you're about to hear does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of this NYCHA development, nor do the views expressed here reflect on the resident council. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program Live and Living Color and by Zoom, and thankful to the Most High that all of us, that means you who are listening in, and those who will pass this interview on to, be blessed with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I'm Brother Leroy, along with the engineer, Brother Doug, and our guest is due to arrive very soon. That's Greg Palast. Greg Palast, Palast, is an investigative reporter. He's done tremendous work in terms of, well, he's just done tremendous work. In the last 7 years, he's been following the scrubbing, the elimination of blacks from the voting rolls in the South and other parts of the U.S., particularly around important or significant races such as Senate, presidential, and the like. The importance of this to the general public, is the reflection on human rights and civil rights and American rights of all people. If the scrubbing of votes from the lists in various cities, in various states, is done without any investigation, any pushback on the part of those who are most affected by these actions, then it will soon spill over into the general public. The general public being non-black people in the U.S., non-brown. If they get away with it in this community, they will extend the same tactics in small races, races for mayor, races for state senator, assemblies, etc. And once again, this is the Wisdom Table coming to you from the Grant Houses in Harlem, USA, based at 125th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. The Grant Houses Community Radio is a sister station to the James Weldon Johnson Houses Community Radio station on the east side. This Grant Houses is on the west side of Harlem, and they're independent, placed in position by I started to say adventurers, but tenant or resident councils that have no fear of having their own radio station, radio and TV station on their premises. It's tied into the security efforts of the developments, the James Weldon Johnson Houses and also the Grant Houses. It's tied right into the security, which has been enhanced by cameras that an independent company has put up, black company that does not get contracts, the kind of contracts, not the kind of contracts, they don't get contracts from the state or the city, but they are creative, along with the resident councils, that has enabled these cameras and the TV radio stations to be placed in position where the tenants can see the premises from their homes, from their apartments, and they can see it from their smartphones as they come home from work, whatever time of day it is. They can click on the right dial and see that someone is or is not in the lobby, in the stairwell, etc. So it's an advanced safety measure in addition to the entertainment and information aspect of the radio stations being in place. Once again, we are scheduled to have Greg Palast on and he will be talking about what's going on in Georgia. In Georgia, they are eliminating tens of thousands of voters from the list, so-called legitimately, so-called rightfully. At least that's the cover in which this is being done. So what Greg will be able to give us is an insight into the legitimacy and the honesty of the scrubbing of the voting list as it's occurring right now. And that's what you have investigative reporters for, regardless of what the situation is. When you find an investigative reporter, or some of our youngsters are going to school for communications, that is so broad a category, and where it leads, I don't know. But if they are taking communications, they should focus and ask the instructors to give them insight into investigative reporting, as opposed to just basic reporting, basic writing. What you want to do is establish a value for yourself, not just get a degree in communications or an associate degree in communications. You want to go deeper because your people need investigative reporting anyway. And you can do a lot of independent work as an investigative reporter. And it requires work, but the more work you do in investigative reporting, the sharper and the more critical your mind becomes. You sharpen the mind. So communication is all right as long as you zero in on that which is going to be of service to your people and to yourself. Once again, I'm Brother Leroy, and
All right, Brother
well,
Leroy.
all we can
Greg,
do is hold the
Brother
fort
Leroy.
down. And
Brother Leroy.
by the
Greg,
way,
too.
it's very important for the Black community, wherever you are in the United States, when you hear this presentation, it's very important that you support Black media. In Detroit, you have a Black newspaper. Chicago, you have Black newspaper. In Atlanta, in the various Houston, and the various major cities, you have a Black newspaper. What do we mean by Black? It's put out by Black publishers, and it's put out for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. The history of Black media, the history of Black newspapers in America is one where the information found in Black newspapers is not going to be found in the so-called general media. Look and look and look, you won't find it. You'll find crime in there. Bozo, the clown, and what he did last night or on the weekend, you'll find that, but you won't find the kind of stories that lead to better health, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, having said that, in New York, the Amsterdam News is a local paper, and it's very important to read the Amsterdam News, and the influencers who read the Amsterdam News are those individuals who are educators, who are politicians, etc. The Amsterdam News, and most definitely in terms of the streets and the roads and the highways of America, you'll find the Final Call newspaper put out by the Nation of Islam, Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that paper is extremely important. It has international, national, and local news stories. And they have investigative reporting, so to speak, in terms of the stories that you will see a blip on MSNBC, NBC, CBS, etc. You'll see it for a half a minute, and that's all, because they don't want another George Floyd momentum to build in the Black community that would incorporate meaningful white participation. So the Final Call is where you go for enhanced information, further information on stories that you've heard, whether it's in Louisiana, Alabama, those states that actually are have the culture of a jail, where in certain times of day or certain parts of those states, they do what they want to do. And the same thing happens in New York. But the more eyes that are open, even those on the police force, well, the better we become in terms of being careful, first of all. So that is presented to Greg Palast, that he only had a few minutes to devote to what we are set up for. However, communications being what they are, you know, he can be on a deadline now, and we missed that particular opportunity. This is Brother Leroy, and I'm co-hosting on the Wisdom Table. The Wisdom Table consists of senior women, mature women from the housing developments who are learning how to run and operate, develop, produce their own radio show, talk show. And this is the first time that it has happened in the U.S. where you have senior women who are capable, having had learned the basics of doing their own radio talk show. And the game plan is to involve the youth within these housing developments in the radio production, to give them a voice, or pardon me, to give their voice an outlet that will enable them to communicate with other youth and definitely bring information on a higher level than what our young people are getting on the radio stations today in terms of the chitter-chatter don't matter in the
Brother Leroy. Brother Leroy.
I don't want to get into all that, but the fact is, we have some bright children. Excuse me.
Brother Leroy.
Our children are extremely bright, but they're not being educated. So it takes the additional involvement of adults to bring knowledge to our children.
Brother Leroy.
Leroy.
Greg is here. He's been here.
Oh man, Brother Leroy has been running his mouth. Okay, yeah. Greg Palast is here with us. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Greg Palast is with us for only a few minutes. And what we want to know, Greg, is what is happening in Georgia that the public is not getting a clear understanding of. Please share the insights that you have.
And by the way, I'm sorry about miscommunication. I was waiting in the electronic waiting room here, and it just didn't come across. Okay, this is Greg Palast, and I just came back from Georgia, and it's really ugly business. What I uncovered, and you can watch the film if you go to gregpalast.com. You're going to see I confront this woman in a red dress. She has a shotgun against her door. She's running for vice chairwoman of the Georgia Republican Party. She has personally challenged the right to vote of 32,000 Georgians, almost all of them voters of color. In fact, one I spoke to, she challenged a woman, Tamara Horn. Tamara Horn, an African-American woman, lost her job because of COVID. Then she had to sell her house because she had no money, moved in with her relatives. She just moved down the street. You don't lose your vote when you move down the street, not in Georgia, unless, of course, you're of the wrong color. She challenged Tamara Horn. She challenged 32,000 voters altogether, and the Georgia Republican Party, are you ready for this, Brother Leroy? The Georgia Republican Party is challenging a total of 364,000 voters, almost all of them voters of color. This is to stop the Reverend Senator Warnock from being reelected next year, and to stop Stacey Abrams from being reelected governor. She was elected the first time, but they stole it from her. If you want to watch this thing, so I confront this woman with a photo of Tamara Horn. And I said, do you know this woman? She says, no. Well, you challenged her right to vote. And then she started screaming at me. And by the way, the NAACP lawyers told me that what the Republican Party is doing, what this woman is doing, is a violation of the anti-Ku Klux Klan law of 1871. If Merrick Garland, our attorney general, is doing his work, these people should go to jail. They should be in prison for pulling off this stunt. Let's see what happens. But we have to fight this at every step of the way. Read the whole article. Watch a 2-minute film at gregpalast.com, GREGPALAST.com, and what you are doing. And the women on this wisdom panel, my hat off to you. And I never take my hat off to anyone, but now I'm taking it off to you. And I want to say you are doing a wonderful, wonderful thing here. You're learning how to communicate and get the word out, because that's the only thing we've got is the drum to beat. And the drum is more important than their nonsense. And remember, they're not using white sheets anymore. They're using spreadsheets to eliminate black people in Georgia. And it's going to go to Texas, to Wisconsin, to Florida. Let's stop it. Let's expose it. Get the word out. Take the article, take the film, send it out. And we'll have a further. I'm so sorry that there's a miscommunication here. I was waiting. It happens. There you are. It happens. But what I want to do is then come back when we can have a little more time. And
yes.
And I want to talk to the women at the wisdom table. I'm so honored that you would invite me today. Thank you.
Greg Palast, thank you very much for these minutes. Thank to your wife, Lanny. And we look forward to having you back very soon. God bless you.
And we will, and God bless you too, Brother Leroy, and to your whole wisdom panel. What a great concept. What a great opportunity. I will be back when we have more time. We can work out the technicalities. Sorry about the miscommunication. You're the best.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Peace. And ladies and gentlemen, please pass this information on to your friends, to your associates. These are the kind of insights that you don't get on so-called regular radio, regular media. It is a pitch to get information to our people, to good and right-thinking people. Doesn't matter whom you are, what race you are, what religion you are. Because, as we said a few minutes ago, if they're able to get away with these tactics against the black community in Georgia, it will spread. It will spread. In our next interview, we want to find out the money trail. Who's backing this? How is it happening? And how can we be mobilized among ourselves? And I'll give you an answer to that. Just like we have book clubs, reading groups, we can have groups focused on this particular area. And you can deal with building a voting block, a strong voting block in your neighborhood. That means organizing, and don't worry about, Mary Lou is difficult to organize, and she always got something to say at the meetings. You organize with the people you can organize with, and you organize around the future and the best for your children, your young people. And that's the only reason that many of us can put together and bypass personalities and whatnot. We're doing it for our children. And when you organize, you can begin to affect education. And I'm not talking about begging people to have curriculum that is meaningful to black children, to Puerto Rican or Spanish or Haitian-speaking children, French-speaking children. I'm talking about what we can do. What we can do as parents. We have expertise within our adult group. We have carpentry. We have electricians. We have masonry. We have painting abilities. I'm talking about trade abilities. When you get the children into using their hands and using their brains, mind, body coordination, then you give an uplift to the spirit. And we have this talent all around us. And also we have to watch one another, because you have a lot of people who take advantage of children whose parents just drop them off somewhere and come back and pick them up. No, we want to be watchful over our children and grandchildren. We want to know what they learned at school, or what they were taught at school, what they were told at school, and you have to build a camaraderie with your children, not yell at them, but you have to do what my mother said, Lillian Baylor. She said, you have to use psychology. And she was talking primarily on Brother Leroy, that you had to use psychology in dealing with Brother Leroy. And a lot of folks who deal with me, they know that. Dr. Astor, Dr. Doug, Dr. Stu, Dr. Wali Abdul Noor, Brother Fahim, and others. So that concludes this short segment on the Wisdom Table this evening on June 23, 2021. Now, tomorrow evening, June 24, Thursday evening, we have our guest, the most scrubbed doctor in the Black community. And we're talking about Dr. Aleem Muhammad will be with us tomorrow, 7 to 8. It will be a two-doctor panel. And we ask you to spread the information. Go to GH Grant Houses Community Radio, GHCR.NYC, and you scroll down to Grant Houses Community Radio. You can hear the presentation. Anytime this brother gives a presentation, they wipe it off YouTube and the other places, but you'll be able to get it direct. Unless someone wants to sabotage it, you'll get it direct and be in a position to safeguard it yourself and take notes on the information. So that's 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Grant Houses Community Radio,
GHCR.NYC, Grant Houses Community Radio, home of the Community News Service and the soul of the Upper West Side.
And you see the synchronicity? They call that's a big word for saying, do you see that, how God works? Brother Leroy is getting ready to say GHCR, and here come Tina Black Dixon, and she gives the station ID, GHCR.NYC, and you tell your friends to scroll down to Grant Houses Community Radio, and they'll be able to hear the interview that we do tomorrow with Dr. Aleem Muhammad and Dr. Arthur Lewis. Dr. Aleem Muhammad and Dr. Arthur Lewis, they will share the platform tomorrow, and some of you will be in a position to ask questions. God bless all of you. Once again, support your Black media. If it's talk shows that have meaningful content, you call them when you call in on shows, give them a heads up, give them a boost, tell them you appreciate the work they're doing, recommend sources of information that they can use in addition to what they've been using. Get the Final Call newspaper, the national newspaper of Black America. It's the only nationally circulated paper put out by Black people and is professionally done. The Final Call newspaper, and support your local, wherever you live, support your local papers and the advertisers who are in those papers. God bless you all. Thank you very much for your time this evening, June 23, 2000.